It's after 8 o'clock. It's time now to get into face-to-face Eyeing Lasso for our program for today. With the good wishes of Basic Needs, a Trust Fund, Facey Trading, and the Flow, this is how we flow.
In my cup, if you have one, hold it up and say, what's the brother colors in my life? Refreshing and nice, and I drink that we will like, but stand up from the vibes, living for the color, and I'm black and white, we do what we like, we live to enjoy life. Hold it up, different flavor, load it up, if you have one, hold it up and say, what's the brother colors in my life? So fast pay, on you an easy way to.
And you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay.
FastPay, 2 minutes and you're on your way. So fast pay.
Flow is keeping you connected.
Poverty alleviation through community empowerment. That's the motto of the Basic Needs Trust Fund, BMTF, located in the Kim's Building on Grenville Street, Kingstown. Operating in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since 1979, the Basic Needs Trust Fund is funded by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Caribbean Development Bank. Its basic needs focus stands on 3 solid pillars: skills training, infrastructure development, and social development. Chances are a project in your community was funded by the Basic Needs Trust Fund. It has improved access roads, built drains and river defenses, refurbished and provided new facilities in primary and secondary schools, and repaired or constructed preschools, health clinics, and community markets. Drop in or call 456-1457 and see what you and BNTF can do for your community.
107.5, 90.7 FM, www.nbc.com. We are the sound of the nation. Eyeing Lasso for program for today with good wishes of Basic Needs, a Trust Fund, Facey Trading, and the Flow. This is how we flow. Remember, it's interactive on the second part of the program, 457-2705, Magic Jack 516-350-9891. You can also send your messages or questions to WhatsApp 457-2705. At this time, let me say good morning to Professor Robertson, and also we have with us via Zoom this morning Mr. Roderick Stewart. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And how have things been?
Well, I'll start off. Things have been relatively quiet. A lot of the signals that we have are related to seismic, so rather as a seismologist should tell you. But since the explosion on the 22nd, was it? 22nd? Yeah. Right. It's been relatively quiet, but Rod can better tell you about the seismics, what signals we are having and not having. Yeah.
All right. Welcome.
Okay, so
welcome back, Mr. Stewart.
thank you very much. Good to be back. Yeah, I mean, during all the explosions, we had a variety of these different volcanic earthquakes, the volcano tectonic, the long period, the hybrid. Since the explosion on the 22nd, we've had very, very few, just the occasional one, and they've been very small. So there's been an incredible change in the activity. There is a problem, from my view as a seismologist, in that it's very difficult to compare the level now with the level before the explosion started, because in January, December, part of February, when we had a small dome growing, the only seismic signals we saw were from the one station, which was at the summit. And that station is gone now. It was destroyed in the eruption. So it's quite difficult to say if it's quieter than it was before the eruption, or if it's the same level. So there may well be a dome growing, and we can't pick up the seismicity because we would only get it near the summit. But overall, it's been remarkable, the change in the level of activity after that last explosion, we've gone back to virtually silent.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the stations that we had and we depended on as key stations, the Wallabu station and a couple of the other stations, which would have had a lot more earthquakes during the explosive events and in between. We essentially not having any events on them currently. So in that sense, you could compare those. But in terms of whether or not there's actually something happening that we're not detecting seismically, because we don't have that close-in station, that's something that, hopefully the plan is to, in fact, Rod is going up on a plane today to try to have a peep in the crater to see if we could confirm what we think might be happening, which is that there might be a dome growing. There's a suggestion from interpreting some satellite imagery that there might be a dome there, but, and the way in which the seismicity that we don't have suggests that that might be the case, or simply that nothing is there and it's really just simply quiet. But we'll check that and we'll see. I think we won't confirm until, probably tomorrow or something like that. Hopefully we get a view in today and we'll know for sure whether the dome is growing, and in which case sort of it will explain more what we are seeing. And of course, we'll hope in some point in the future, once it's safe, to put back in a station close in, so we can start getting those close-in signals again.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not ready to do that.
Yes, no.
Nothing anywhere near the summit at the moment.
No, not a good idea at all.
All right. From the first explosion on the 9th of April, how many explosive eruptions we have to date?
I want you.
32. There have been 32 distinct explosions, maybe 31, maybe 33. At one point, they were so close together, it's difficult to tell. But yeah, 32, which is
the first 2 days was like almost 20?
Yeah.
It was
amazing.
All right. And when did we first observe the increase in seismic activity? I know it's sometime late last year.
Well, we had prior to the sort of the dome emplacement, we've had periods when Soufriere had earthquakes. I think early last year we had a few, and then just prior to the dome being observed, I think it was November, December.
In November, December, there were some.
Yeah, there were some events. But bear in mind, the network that we had in place then was much smaller. We didn't have as much stations. So I believe then, before the events happened, the effusive activity started, we only had probably Belmont stations. So we did see some earthquakes in it. But really, once we put in the network, we started to have these, what we call dome emplacement events, these events that was mainly being picked up by the close-in station, and we think was associated with the dome being grown. But before everything, I think the last time would have been November. Yeah.
But in terms of the explosions here, we had a couple of VT swarms in advance of them, and then we went into this tremor, the banded tremor and continuous tremor, and then the explosion started. It's strange. Time has become a bit of a blur for us. So I can't actually tell you how many days it is. I'd have to go and find a bit of paper to tell you what it was. But
the VT swarms you had, we would have recorded them on the station. Yeah. I think it was early March and then late March. We had two, and then we had just prior to the explosion, we had trouble. Yeah.
Okay, we have a few backlogged questions that we didn't get in for previous programs. What is the quantity of the material that the volcano has discharged as a result of the eruptions?
Right. So we haven't precisely quantified it yet, because we have to. In fact, one of the things that I'm going to be doing this week and in upcoming weeks, other colleagues will continue, is simply going in the field and looking at deposits so that we can better quantify that. But in terms of sort of ballpark estimates, I think in total, you could start with the fact that destroyed the 2021 dome, 2021 dome, which was at the time, we think about 15 million cubic meters. And then it had a pre-existing 1979 dome, a large part of which it destroyed. Using that, and then using sort of estimates that you could get from, if you have a particular eruption column, and if you're getting stuff through it at a certain rate, you can get an estimate of how much sort of material each explosion could give. I think we've come up with figures that are around 100 million cubic meters of material. In terms of new material, it's probably I think, about 10 or 20 million new materials. Sort of, the 100 comes from the pre-existing 2021 dome, what was blasted out from the 1979 dome, and the new stuff, really new, is probably only about 20 so far. And those are sort of general estimates. We have to do it much more specific. So yeah, so that's the kind of figures. Not as much as prior eruptions have, just to bear that in mind. It's still nowhere near not close to sort of 79, which was close to the 50 or 60 million, and 71.
All right, a related question. Can the pyroclastic flow affect the topography of the seafloor and lead to rip currents in places where there was not hitherto or before? Yeah.
Not sure I understand.
Sorry, can you repeat the second part of the
A
question?
question on WhatsApp. Can the pyroclastic flows affect the topography of the sea area or the seafloor that leads to rip currents in places where there were no rip currents before?
Right. That's the part of recurrence. No, okay. The first part of the question I'll answer, as I understand. Yes, pyroclastic flows affect topography of the land, first of all, but for them to affect topography in the sea, I think you'll have to have a lot more material going in the sea. Currently, we don't think a lot is going in the sea, so I don't think it will affect it. So it can, but I don't think it has. Okay. The other part of the question, I'm not quite sure I understand what the person said, so I can't say I can. You understand what I'm saying?
No, were you asking about reefs?
Reefs,
Rip currents and
rip
currents, yeah.
Sorry. Wasn't just me.
Yeah, I don't know about rip currents. Yeah, I don't have a clue.
You need a lot of material, I think, changing the topography of the seafloor. I mean, we've had it in Montserrat where there's been many flows go into the sea, but so far in this eruption, I don't think so.
Yeah, you need a lot more material, essentially, and we don't take a lot of material down in the sea.
You may well get more material going into the sea once we get lahars in the wet season.
Yep.
So that might change the topography.
Yeah, all the stuff that is on the land is going to part of the land. So,
but it's a very transient thing because there's always currents moving them. I know that in Montserrat, there's a jetty in Plymouth that they use from time to time, and they have to keep dredging it because it keeps getting just clogged up with material that's been brought down by the lahars.
Yeah, I mean the thing is too is that I suspect that it's probably going to affect. If it is, there's a deep trough that drops off the Caribbean side of the sort of the western side of the country. There's a shelf that falls away quite quickly. So the bay area outside is quite shallow. I suspect. You'll have to have a lot of material into there, as Rod said, to make an effect. And on the other side, the Atlantic side, it's sort of much more dynamic. So I'm not sure you really will have to have a lot of material to have an effect because of the dynamism in that side.
All right. Morning edition of Eyeing La Soufriere here on NBC Radio. We have on the program Professor Richard Robertson and Mr. Roderick Stewart. Is there any data from the previous eruptions, those of 1902 or 1979, and how many eruptions happened in those times compared to 2021?
You mean in terms of individual explosions? I don't think we would have had that detailed record. The network that we have, and of course the way in which the data is collected, we essentially could determine, even without seeing it, given the signal, I guess, which almost every discrete major event, while
it couldn't do that.
They couldn't really do that in 79, and certainly not in 1902. In 1902, a lot of the record is after the scientists actually came out after the events have happened. So the documentation of the eruption in 1902 is much poor, very poor, compared to now. The kind of information and data we collected now is much richer in the volume and in quality. And certainly in terms of the explosions, even in 79, you have to depend on their visual observations more so than the seismic record, because the instruments that you had were different, the way in which the data is collected was different, so the detail that you get now would not have existed and they're possible then.
Okay.
When we were having very frequent explosions, on the ground it just seemed like one big event. We couldn't really see the discrete pulses unless we looked at the seismic data.
4572705, Magic Jack 516-350-9891. Question here from WhatsApp. Good morning, Professor Robertson. If you have a tank that collects rainwater by the way of spouting from the roof and some volcanic ash fell in the tank. Is the water safe for washing?
Right. So I think as now I'm yeah. I would suggest I would say first of all that the person should consult the various publications out there that speak specifically about ash. But in terms of the impact that the ash would have, is two main things in terms of, I guess, water. Would be the physical effect, because you have a piece of essentially rock in the material, but also the ash is usually coated in certain chemicals that might make the water slightly acidic. Right. So it might taste a little bit sour, but otherwise, washing, you said?
Washing, not drinking, washing.
It's going to be a very dilute acid, so it shouldn't really cause any major problems.
All right. Another question here. The water systems such as the rivers and the streams contaminated with the sulfur or the ash, is it safe to eat the fish or the fish life or the river life? Is it safe? Is it safe to eat the fish in the rivers after the ash?
Well, well, again, like what I said about the water, I think the running water systems are even less affected because they're going to be washed out. Basically, it's like you diluting that acid even more. So again, we're not but I would think that it shouldn't really have that much effect in terms of making the fish sort of poisonous or dangerous. But I would refer that to a marine, or not marine, what is it called, a biologist? Yeah, somebody like that. But the volumes, the concentrations of ash and of acidic material in associated with ash that in any kind of water system should be not high enough to cause major harm to any kind of living organisms. And in the case of the rain, in the case of the river is moving, it's washing itself all the time. So I suspect the effects is going to be temporary.
Professor, I realize that persons missed you over the weekend. The questions are coming fast and furious.
I hope they keep coming when Rod is here. He can answer some too.
All right.
But hopefully some scientific questions.
All right. I am a 15-year-old science student of the Girls' High School, and because I am finding these eruptions exciting, I am beginning to look at studying volcanology, but chemistry is not my friend. What requirements you need in this field?
Right. Well, I'll let Rod tell you about the physical part, but it's really wide. The people who are involved in monitoring volcanoes, you have a range of skills that you need. We have people here who are communications people, so if you like communicating science with people. We have people here who have to know a lot about computers and IT programming, that kind of thing. So if you're into that, we have people here who have to maintain stations. If you're into electronics, understanding how components work. So chemistry is one of it. If you want to go into geochemistry and that kind of thing, the chemistry is important, but you might go into geology, which is more rocks, and it has chemistry, but not a major deal. And also you could go into what Rod could talk endlessly about seismology, which he would encourage you probably to get into, which is more. You tell him.
No, but a large part of what we do, we actually call geophysics.
Yeah.
Seismology is one branch, but there's other sort of physics we do. So anyone with a physics sort of interest or background, that's really good. But as Richie said, the key thing now is computers. All the research we do, all the data collection needs knowledge of computers and ability to keep them running. So it'd be nice to have people with that. But people from so many backgrounds end up involved in volcanology.
I'll tell you, when I started out, just to say, even if you're not a science student, I mean, you have to do science in the end because this is an applied science.
She said chemistry is not her friend.
Huh? Hello?
She said chemistry was not her friend.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is that even if you were, my part to come to this was I was an art student. I did up until I went to A levels. I wasn't really doing science. So you could swap, you could switch. But you have to do science. So the basic sciences, so if it's not physics, if it's not chemistry, it can be maths, physics, all the other sciences will be relevant. Geography, but you can't get away from that because a lot of it is physics and maths based. So what Rod said, geophysics and that kind of thing, is really studying the earth and looking at it as a physical system. So anything to do with that will be relevant. So if chemistry is not your friend, that's fine. You could get into a different aspect of it.
Another question. Good morning, guys. Could Mr. Robertson please confirm if there was a 1971-72 eruption? My reason for this is persons younger than myself are arguing that there was never a 71-72 eruption. Even someone 50 years of age is doubting me. Even reporters are mentioning that 71-72 era. Thanks for in advance.
Yes, there was. Unequivocally, there was a dome that came up. Before 1971, there was a crater lake. And in 71, late 71, a mass of rock came up, just like the dome-like group, and it formed an island that went on growing and went on being active until 1972. And in fact, a lot of that was destroyed in 79, but a little bit was left back. It'd be interesting to see. I suspect all of it is gone now after this event. But you could have, prior to this eruption, I could have taken that person up to the volcano and showed them a piece of the rock that came out in 71 to prove that there was a 71. So there was a 71, 72 eruption, and a future eruption without any explosive component.
Another question. How likely are pyroclastic flows to reach into the orange zone areas such as Chateaubriand?
Unlikely, but not the flows themselves. There's a possibility that the surges could get into those areas, and that's precisely why there are areas that are on the fringe of the red. Any area on the fringe of the red zone, sort of on the boundary, depending on where you are. And certainly, Fitzhugh's and to a certain extent, Chateaubriand is on the fringe. You have the possibility for surges, not necessarily the flows are the main sort of bulky part of the material that stays in the valleys and probably doesn't go far. And the surges could sweep across the sea and sort of wrap around the headland and get there. So it's unlikely, but it's not impossible. So that's why you can have the air on the side of caution and move away from those areas. Particularly like now when the valleys are filled up and therefore the pyroclastic flows to go.
There's someone asking about azomite. There's a difference between azomite or ash, or is it the same thing?
Okay, you're right. Yeah, okay, azomite. Well, somebody asked about it last time.
Okay.
And I then went online and checked because it was not a geological term I know. And I discovered it's actually a name, it's probably a commercial name given to some volcanic materials that is mined in Utah, was it? In the US.
Yeah,
in the US. And is used commercially. So I'm not sure what kind of volcanic material it is, but the name azomite is not necessarily I don't think it's a geologic name. It's a name that they came up with to describe this volcanic material. I'm not sure exactly what kind of volcanic material. So it's essentially, that's what it is. So it's a material that's used. Mm-hmm. I think they sell it and commercially it's sold as something that it could be additive to make soil rich and stuff like that. And they gave it a name and it's commercially. But maybe at the end of this eruption we could have something called Soufriere. Because we have materials that we are producing from the volcano that is potentially quite useful and good and rich for soil. It's just that you have to know how to manipulate it. Right now it's bad. It's covering everything. It's destroying things. But in time, that's why Simmons have such rich fertile land, partly because of the volcanic ash. It's good. So again, I'm giving all these. I've given the idea about a commercial person could go and scoop up the ash and use it later on. Maybe somebody could start getting into how they could commercially make use of the ash that's right now is a nuisance. You'll have to do some research, but possible.
We have a question coming in here from our Magic Jack. Hello, good morning. Welcome to our Eyeing La Soufriere Mornings edition. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. I think we lost that caller. Yeah. We even have another technical question. Is our volcano of kimberlite eruption or releasing kimberlite rocks?
Yeah. Okay.
I see you laughing.
No, because we now realize that we have to start preparing better for these programs. You guys are coming up with some serious questions, but yeah, go ahead. I'll see what I can do. I know vaguely about kimberlite and stuff like that, but yeah.
Another question. Can you comment on air, the quality as a result of the eruption, and how long will we be experiencing ash in the local air quality?
How long you might be experiencing ash? Well, there's two things with the ash. To get the ash, you have to have the volcano erupting explosively and producing ash. And I guess the first set of eruption produce most of the ash that you have around. The later ones have gone off the sea. Now, we're not having that, so therefore you don't have the source to produce the ash. But we do have a lot of ash on the ground. And one of the problems with the ash is that until it goes out to sea or until it works into the soil, it gets remobilized. So while we may not be producing ash, we're not currently producing ash because you're not in the explosive phase, at least at present. The ash will be a problem unless you wash it off and get into the system. I don't demonstrate ways of dealing with the ash. But so it could go on for as long as the volcano is erupting explosively. But it could go on for longer if you don't get rid of the ash.
We have a call on the line. Hello, good morning. Welcome to our Iron Glass of Fair Mornings edition.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning, Doc.
Morning.
I've heard that there were other volcanoes on mainland St. Vincent. Were there ever any existing that became dormant?
Right. Well, we tend to use the term either they're alive or dead. So yes, there have been a number of volcanoes, and St. Vincent is volcanic, so it's built from volcanoes. And the volcanoes that are in the south, apart from Soufriere, we consider now dead. So you might call it dormant. I say it's dead. It's not dormant. Sounds like it could wake up again. I say it's dead because I don't think it could wake up again. It's gone. So you're talking about all the mountains that stretch from Mount St. Andrew, Mount Brisbane, Grand Banan, Petit Banan, Richmond Peak. All of those were volcanic. Are volcanic, and those erupted in the past. We don't think anything will happen to them. They're dead because the rocks are too old, things are still up.
There's no source of heat beneath those volcanoes. The only source of heat is beneath the Soufriere. And it's probably the case that it's the same source of heat that's actually moved around. Yeah. So at one point, this source of heat was beneath Mount St. Andrew, I should remember that. Yes. Yeah. So at the moment, the heat is beneath La Soufriere. And this is the same of all the Caribbean islands except Dominica. They all tend to have one volcano and a number of old volcanoes, which are, totally dead.
Yeah.
So was the Grenadines divided due to volcanic eruption? I read that in
the whole of the Lesser Antilles, the Eastern Caribbean, was originally volcanic. In some cases, like in the Grenadines, the volcanism is so old that it has been covered over, in a sense, by marine deposits because of sea level change. So at one point, the sea level around the Caribbean was higher than it is now, so then coral developed. But if you core into the islands, if you go to all these rocks, you'll find even the ones that appear to be now limestone and not volcanic, they have at their core volcanic materials.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your question.
Did we get the kimberlite question?
Yeah.
What was the kimberlite question?
Yeah. You had a kimberlite question.
A kimberlite question. That question was, is our volcano of a kimberlite eruption or releasing kimberlite rocks? Can it?
Okay, that's an easy one. No. Kimberlite are associated with older systems than this, much older and much sort of bigger systems, often in continents and things like that. So ours island arc volcanoes, we don't have anything like that. I think the person thinking about the fact that in kimberlite volcanoes that are associated with kimberlites are usually often ones that have things like diamonds and stuff like that.
Right.
We unfortunately don't have. We're not that lucky.
We wish.
Yes.
All right. I know we had a little. We know the negatives of the ashfall and all that. What positive can we take out of the ashfall? Somebody asking, is it good for building infrastructure and mixing with cement and that kind of stuff?
Well, I'll later on tell you about what they do in Montserrat because they're using it.
The main thing in Montserrat is they sell it and export it to other islands for construction. Because it is so much better than beach sand for construction.
Yeah.
But the thing in Montserrat is they're using stuff that's been brought down by lahars, so it has been sorted to some extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a major industry. Every day almost there's parties taking the material away. So that's the main use. I know the University of the West Indies in Mona were looking at whether it could be used in road construction. I don't know what happened with that, but we sent samples to them. We've also had people making tourist trinkets. You know, you can get little things made of the ash, or you can sell bottles of ash to tourists. I mean, it's not happening yet, but you will have a tourist industry here, and people will be interested in what's going on.
Yeah.
So you know, we can use it.
Yeah,
we can use the ash in that.
Because there's been a lot of attention on eruption, and people want to have, souvenirs.
It's really up to the entrepreneurs. It's like that stuff in Utah. I've forgotten its name already. Azamat. I suspect that's more a marketing opportunity than anything else. They had a material that had been deposited there a long time ago by a volcano. It was usable, and then they came up with a nice name that makes it marketable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really up to the entrepreneurs to see what they can do.
All right, questions are still coming, but we have to wrap up the program this morning. I understand that, Professor, you'll be leaving shortly and you'll be handing over once again to Rod.
Yes, I am. In fact, that's why you've seen Rod from now on, so that people will get refamiliarized with them. Yes, it's come that time again where we rotate in and out people, it is necessary in volcanic eruptions to do that. And Rod himself will be rotated out in about a week's time. 2 weeks' time. And TC also, and we have new people coming in. We actually have two new persons here, then others will come. As the eruption continues, you have to rotate in. So I'll be back, but I'll be well, we both will be back at different times. But yeah, I'll be leading at the end of the week. But I'll be, we both involved in the wider group. We watch and follow what's happening closely and interact with people here in the ground. Before Rod came here, he was one of the most active ones in the chat group about what was happening. And the same thing here. So we're not physically here, but we're going to be here still and linked into the system.
All right, gentlemen, let me thank you very much for being on the program this morning, and thanks for the continued update and valuable information. Thank you so much, and stay safe.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye. 107.5, 90.7 FM, www.nbc. We had another program this morning. Professor Richard Robertson is the lead scientist monitoring the La Soufriere volcano, and also on the program, Roderick Stewart will be answering our questions, comments, making comments on our next few programs as Professor Robertson heads out of state for a short while. I want to thank our caller. Calls are still coming in. Our folks who sent questions on our WhatsApp. Our listeners to IKTV and viewers of IKTV there. They were with us as well this morning on our program. Thank you very much for being a part of the program. 457-2705, 516-350-9891, WhatsApp, and of course our sponsors, Basic Needs, a Trust Fund, Facey Trading, and The Flow. This is how we flow. Eyeing La Soufriere, morning edition. This evening at 11, we'll have the program, the hosts of that program. From 11, Miss Dion John and Mr. Colvin Harry.
If you have one, hold it up and say, "That's the brother colors in my life. Refreshing at night, so I drink that we will